As you look out over the sparkle and glitter through the fog and mist of a Hudson River morning, you'll easily find one excellent bass holding pattern, actually staked out and numbered for your bass fishing convenience. Sure, call them obvious. Call them navigation beacons. First, check your navigation map. On it, beacons show up like this. From a bird's eye view, they look like this. Let's start with the basics. Beacons are found all up and down the river. There's plenty of them, and they sort of look alike. But not all beacons mark the channel, which means that not all beacons hold fish. It's the often repeated concept of an edge or a break that makes the difference. When a beacon marks the channel, it's on the edge of a shallow water, deep water break line, as you can see by the depth contour lines. The beacon is then a break on a break line and offers a focus point for feeding fish. Without the drop-off, it's just a pretty picture postcard. So choose your beacon. It's sitting on a shallow water, deep water break. Where do you start? Used to be you could load up by casting anywhere near a beacon like this. Today, because of the fishing pressure, you have to work at it. First, dig out the tide tables and check the current. In our case, the current's moving right to left at about 4 miles per hour on a rising tide. Keeping in mind that we need to work our bait with the current, we've positioned the boat on the down current side of the beacon out of the current. Mike's made the slow but sure choice of baits, one he manufactures himself. An Angler's Advantage 3/8 ounce rubber jig with a plastic trailer. He's working it around and through the riprap, slowly. My choice, no surprise, a big Tennessee shad crankbait tossed into the rocky structure at the base of the beacon. You can see this particular crankbait's got a big wobble to go with its large profile. See, I was figuring to get the active fish first. Or at least that was the plan.
Whew. Good fish.
Okay.
Whoa!
Hey, look at this one.
That is the funniest looking fish I've ever seen.
That is a strange looking fish. That fish probably goes 2 pounds and may not even be 12 inches.
Take a look, take a look.
Let's see.
Oh, he makes it. He's 12.
Just barely 12 inches, but I'll bet you that fish weighs 2 pounds.
After the excitement of the catch, and in this case a good chuckle, we do our part in maintaining a good fishery. We release the rascal. And back to square one. As part of our beacon search pattern, I began with the crankbait, but I'm not really that stubborn, so I changed to a plastic worm. And I'm not too proud to ask questions either.
I got to ask you something. Now, I know this is one of the patterns in this river which is just pounded to death. I mean, everybody, it's such an obvious place. You look at one of these beacons, you see a rocks, there's some depth change in the water. On the other side, it flicks down quite deep. The channel's on the other side. Everybody fishes this. And yet, I know for a fact that you still manage to come up on one of these places and still catch fish.
Absolutely.
All right, let's hit you up for the secret.
What?
Let's hit you. Okay, let's hit you up for one of your secrets.
One of my secrets?
Yeah.
I flip it real close. Most people fish these with crankbaits, spinner baits, but I find, and those fish get caught, but I find that if you flip right into the crevices of the rocks, you can catch a fish now and again. In the '86 BASS tournament, for 3 days of practice, one of these beacons was just pounded and pounded and pounded. Then everybody who went by hit it. I was running back with a limit of fish, stopped, and I managed to get one 2.5, 3 pounds and called one of my fish with it by just flipping a jig right into the rocks.
Here's another secret. The beacons are small enough where you can fish all around one of the darn things and cover the area square foot by square foot in just a few minutes. The problem? These beacons are really obvious, as they're meant to be, not only to the fish, but to the river's top-of-the-line predator, the bass fisherman. Even so, if you spend some time on a particular beacon and study it, especially how its currents change as the tides change, and then run the search pattern, crankbait, spinnerbait, jig, and plastic worm, well, I can pretty much assure you, you're gonna bust some beacon bass.
Oh, you got one.
While Mike's enjoying himself here, let's stop the action and review the basics. For a beacon to hold fish, it has to be on a break line, deep water and shallow water both, preferably contacting a shallow water bay. The deep water provides sanctuary and the highway by which bass travel up and down the river. The shallows provide the goodies. If the shallows nearby have vegetation, that's even better. The beacon itself provides a current break, which means you'll find bass here. It provides structure, which means you'll find bass here. And the large rocks and holes at the base of the beacon provide cover for the bass here. When you fish a beacon, always do so in the context of the tide and current. Now, except when we were flipping right into the riprap, you'll notice we're always working the bait with the current. We want the bass to see our bait coming. And even with the off-color water you'll find in the Hudson, this bass did. In a nutshell, it's like this. Besides their structure, cover, and current break positioning, on a rising tide, the bass will move up on the break created by the beacon and out onto the shallows to feed. Now, when the tide turns and falls, the bass will locate on the edge, behind rocks, etc., out of the current, now flowing downstream. Think in terms of bass movement from one position to the other. Work the boat facing the current and fish it appropriately. Make sure you cover every bit of it. Study it as you fish your way all the way around the entire beacon. Sometimes it's that simple persistence, you'll notice I'm back to my crankbait, that comes up golden.
And, whoa! That's a nice bass. I think I always say that, don't I? Everyone's a nice bass.
Especially the one that doesn't get away, even though we do unhook and release.
Bye-bye, bass.
It's time to quit and split. But we'll be back next time. And maybe we'll see you there when we once again bust the beacon.